Hey, DJ.
What's going on, Wes?
Hey, man, did you know back in the early 1900s, Wylie earned the nickname Wide Awake Wylie because the town was a bustling hub with businesses staying open late, making it a social hotspot in the area?
I did not know that. That's pretty cool to know that
It
that's the
is.
reason. I always wondered why it was Wide Awake Wylie.
I did too. Now you know. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Live, Love, Wylie podcast, hosted by Wes Dorsey and DJ Shirley. Connecting people in the city we live and love. All right, man, we got a great episode today. Today we've got Brent Parker, City Manager of the great city of Wylie, Texas. Welcome to the show, Brent.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. Super excited to have you here. Let's just start right off, man. What was it like growing up in Wylie?
Well, you know, I moved here when I was 5 years old back in 1980, so it's been a minute. It's really changed a lot. There was 3,000 people here. I think there was a four-way blinking red light down here at Ballard and 78 by the old supermarket, and all the roads were two-lane. It was just a small country town. We actually moved here because my dad was the middle school principal for a few years, and so it was neat to just be in a small town. I really enjoyed growing up in a small town, but you know, even as we've grown, I think we've done a good job of kind of staying a small town, with the historic downtown being our focal point for most large events and things. And so it's you knew everybody. You got in trouble because you knew everybody.
Because everybody saw what you were doing, right?
So, you know, you kind of had to behave a little bit.
Everybody knew your dad, right?
Everybody knew my dad. So, fortunately, there weren't as many police officers back then. So, you know, we might get away with a thing or two, but times have definitely changed.
Absolutely. So back then, 3,000 people. How many schools did we have then?
So, three. We had Hartman Elementary School.
Yeah.
Harrison Intermediate used to be Wylie Middle School, and then Burnett Junior High used to be the high school. So that was the three schools.
So your dad was the principal at the middle school.
At Wylie Middle School.
That's cool.
And those are actually the three schools that I went to. I think I don't remember. I think Wylie High School opened in '95, so it opened a couple of years after I graduated. So it was definitely a small town.
Yeah, yeah. Good times though. I mean, it's changed and it's gotten bigger, but I think we still have some of those small town characteristics that stay around. So that's
Absolutely.
So, what are some of the growing up here? What are some of the jobs that you did around town or work? Where did you work?
Well, me and a buddy of mine, obviously, like most kids, probably in a small town, we mowed yards from time to time. And then when I ended up getting my driver's license, I worked at Pool Feed Supply downtown. It used to be where the Wylie Tire Shop is now.
Right.
So I worked there, and then Brookshire's came to town in, I think that was 92 when they opened. And I went to work at Brookshire's for a couple of years there until I graduated high school and moved off. And
Where'd you go?
I went to moved to Nacogdoches to go to Stephen F. Austin State University.
Yeah.
Wasn't very successful in the beginning at college, like most young people probably.
Same. I think we have the same story there.
yeah. So I lived down there for a few years, and I really my dream growing up, I guess, my uncle was a firefighter down in Duncanville, and that was always kind of a dream of mine, to be a firefighter and own my own landscaping business. I had three things, I guess, that I wanted to do four. I wanted to be an ag teacher or a firefighter, own my own landscaping business, and own a feed store.
Okay.
And so when I realized at the time, at that young age, I didn't really want to go to college. So after living in Nacogdoches for a few years, I moved back up here and went to Fire Academy and
Became a firefighter.
Became a firefighter, yes,
yeah.
sir.
Awesome.
So
that's so tell us about that. Tell us about being part of the Wylie Fire Department.
You know, it's really been a cool experience. You know, to be able to come back to your hometown,
Right.
has really been an honor to be able to serve my hometown. When I started here, we had a part-time firefighter program, so I started out as a part-time firefighter and worked a full-time job for a few months, and then I ended up getting hired full-time, and you know, back then it's still 544 wasn't wide and 78 wasn't wide, and we had one fire station which is located down here on South Ballard. I take that back. We had Fire Station 2, but it was only staffed Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So it was small personnel-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But then, obviously, it's grown over the years. To today, we have 4 fire stations, and I don't know how many personnel, but
so I was trying to do the math in my head. So that was around 95, right?
Well, I got hired in 2001, okay. So okay. You are correct. I moved back here in 96 actually, and went to Fire Academy. At that time, to get in the fire service was extremely competitive. There were a lot of people wanting to get in the fire service, but the Metroplex really wasn't growing like it has been the last 20 years. Right. So you might go take a test because you have to take a written test, a physical agility, go through an interview. I mean, it's a pretty long process. And you may go do all that, and a fire department's only hiring 2 or 3 people.
Right.
And there may be 30 of you trying to get hired, you know. Right. So it took me a couple of years to get hired, but, you know, the time I went through Fire Academy, EMT school, paramedic school, that was about 2.5 years, and then I probably tested for a couple of years before I was successful in getting hired. So,
did they have all the cool toys back then that they have now?
No, not at all. I mean, now you know there's we have hovercrafts. Yeah. You know, the hazmat team's got all these cool toys, and you know they've really come a long way in a short amount of time. But it's funny because the fire chief here, he's always wanting to show me the latest and greatest stuff. Yeah. Whatever kind of makes me sad that I'm out of the fire service now, but it's cool. They got a lot of cool toys.
Yeah, they do. I know.
Excuse me.
We you know, my son had a birthday party there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's been years ago, but it's always cool. They'd go out there and they show all the kids the toys. Yeah. I think I geeked out a little bit more than the kids did.
I think the parents
do for sure,
yeah.
sure. So, how long were you with the fire department?
So 18 years. So I started there in 2001. Actually, July 4th of 2001 was my first shift. And then for 18 years, I worked my way up through the ranks. Mm-hmm. Became fire chief in 2014. Okay. I was able to serve as a fire chief for right at 5 years. And then I made the plunge to the city manager's office. So
transition to that. So when you were saying the 4 things, I didn't hear city manager on that list of the 4 things.
You know, you are correct. I don't know that I really, honestly, I never envisioned being out of the fire service. I love the fire service. And I loved being the fire chief. But I've always had a philosophy of, if not me, then who?
Right.
Type of deal.
Right.
And the opportunity came along. You know, Mindy Manson was our city manager for 12 years, and she retired, and the opportunity came for me to promote to assistant city manager. And, you know, I thought at that time, you know, they're coming to me for a reason to give me that opportunity. And I've never really known if I was ready for that transition. I mean, every transition comes with the unknown. And but when somebody comes to you, obviously they see something in you that you don't see in yourself. So I thought maybe I ought to take the plunge and try my hand at something different and see what it's all about. You know, in the city, at the end of the day, I tell our employees all the time, you know, we're in the people business.
Right.
And that's what we do. We don't sell a product. We provide services to our residents and visitors. And, you know, it's really no different than if you're in the fire service or law enforcement or public works. You're just providing a service. So I thought, you know, maybe it'd be a good change after, because at that point I had been in the fire department because I started out volunteering. I guess that was in '97, so to 2019. So, you know, what is it, 23, 24 years at that point. So I thought, you know, maybe it is time for a change and see what I can do.
They must have saw something in your leadership style or whatever that would transition over into that role. So,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes people see things in us that we don't see ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, kind of what was some of the biggest challenges moving from the fire department into city management?
Well, first and foremost,
Was it just like drinking from a fire hose?
It really was, because, you know, I mean, it was all new.
Right.
And the city manager at the time, so the way that kind of functions is there's two assistant city managers and city manager, and we all had certain departments that reported to us. And, you know, and in his wisdom, he was smart because he didn't let me, the fire department didn't report to me.
Right.
So I had to learn, I think I had Parks and Rec, Public Works. I don't remember who all I had, but I had 5 departments that I didn't really know anything about. So that was good for me because I felt reinvigorated because I was having to learn, and literally, you know, it felt like I was drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and it was new challenges, just learning kind of a whole different side of the business. The biggest transition, I think, for me was, excuse me, really just the thought process that other city departments and really other people use. As a firefighter, you're trained to stay calm in all situations, and there's not really a whole lot that is a big deal unless somebody's dying or house is on fire or something of that nature. And so I go to City Hall, and, you know, I mean, people get upset about certain things, and to me it's like, whoa, man, your house isn't on fire, nobody's dying, man.
You've been calm for 18 years. Now you're thrown into that.
Yeah, just calm down a little bit. Let's talk through this.
We can figure it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just talk through this. And so I think that was probably some of the bigger challenges, is just trying to adjust to what's important to everybody, really.
Right.
You know, I mean, they're passionate or upset about something that's important to them.
Right.
And so it was trying to shift that mindset of, all right, I gotta think that whatever it is, you know, somebody's trash not getting picked up, to, you know, a crack in the soccer fields or whatever. That's got to become important to me.
Right.
You know,
yeah, one of the departments that you're overseeing is responsible for making that person happy.
Yeah, and I've got to understand why that's important. So that's probably a bigger shift than what I kind of anticipated.
Right. So apparently you did a good job at it.
I guess that's what they kept me around.
They kept you around, yeah. So you went over there from the fire department, fire chief, to assistant city manager, and then from there, you went to interim city manager?
Correct.
Okay. And then full-blown city manager.
Full-blown.
Yeah. So I guess let's tell the audience exactly that maybe some people are not familiar with how cities are ran. What exactly does the city manager do?
All right. So cities are, well, So there's two types of cities. One is a general law city, and one is called a home rule city, which we're a home rule city. Home rule cities is an election that takes place when a city reaches 5,000 people, if a city chooses to do so. And by doing that, the residents adopt a city charter, and basically that's our governing documents.
Right.
And so within that charter, it outlines the responsibilities of the city council, the city manager, and basically how we function and what we're allowed to do. We have to follow state law. A general law city, on the other hand, they don't have that city charter, and all they are allowed to do is follow state law.
Right.
So since we have a city charter, I tell people the best way for me to explain it is like I'm the CEO of a company and the council's a board of directors.
Right.
So they appoint me. I'm the only one in the city that's appointed by the city council. They hire and fire the city manager. So, and then I have the ability, and obviously I communicate everything with the council. I have the ability to appoint all the department heads within the city. So my day-to-day is really managing the details and managing the city's budget, all the capital improvement projects, the finer details, I guess, if you will, of the city down through the departments. The city council, their main focus is to establish policy, approve developments, approve the budget, and then we just administer that down through the.
So you talk about cities get the choice when they reach like 5,000 residents.
Yes, sir.
To adopt a city charter. So do you know about what time frame that city charter was adopted?
If I remember correctly, I think it was in 1982.
Okay.
I think that's when, or I'm sorry,
92?
1987.
Ooh, 87. Good year.
I believe that's correct. That's a good year. All right.
That's the year I graduated high school.
Oh, there you go. That is a good year. Yeah, if I'm correct, I think it was 1987.
Okay. And how does who sits down and develops and writes the charter or comes up with it? Does somebody start from scratch, or do they have templates, or who's in charge of that? Do you know?
I'm sure there's probably some templates around somewhere. If you read city charters, they're all pretty similar. But so we, obviously we have a city attorney that we use, and there was a charter committee which is made up of residents, and in conjunction with city staff, that committee and the attorney, they draft that city charter. And, it outlines things such as the number of council members, how long the terms are, the authority of the police department, emergency management, kind of the departments that are in the city. It's just our guiding document that we use. And then, the city passes ordinances, and those ordinances are, again, they're our guiding documents. It's more of a law that for lack of a better term, it's kind of like state legislation,
sure.
But it's our local law that we follow.
I tend to geek out on some of this stuff, so I apologize.
No, that's good. I'm glad somebody else is interested in it.
For sure. So as Wylie continues to grow, right? I mean, just 20 years ago, we're saying we were like 5,000 people, right? Or how long ago was that? Maybe it was more than that, 40 years ago.
Now you're asking me to do math on a Friday.
No, don't worry about the math. But anyway, my point is Wylie continues to grow rapidly.
Yeah, we do.
So what are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges that you see that comes along with that growth?
So we'll start out with the opportunities because
Sure.
that's the easier. Obviously, the opportunities are to bring in more of what people are looking for. You know, we get requests all the time for more sit-down restaurants, more businesses that would keep people and allow people to shop locally. That's really what a lot of people are after. And as as much as people think that we can go out and say, hey, we want, I'll use Chick-fil-A. We want Chick-fil-A. It doesn't. We can't go to Chick-fil-A and go, hey, come to Wylie.
Right.
You know. So we do go. I mean, we do seek those businesses,
Right.
but obviously they have different.
You can't force them.
Yeah, they have different metrics that they use to try to
Traffic count.
and you know, and that is part of the challenge with us is being primarily a bedroom community is our traffic counts for daytime. You know, a lot of restaurants want the daytime traffic.
The lunch traffic. And
So we're finally at that tipping point, so I think we'll see more of that. But that is probably the biggest opportunity is to bring those things in that allow people to live here or that live here to stay here.
so let's, before we move on to the challenges,
Yes, sir.
let's set the record straight.
Yes.
You have no control over the amount of chicken restaurants
We do
and
not.
nail salons that are in the city of Wylie, right?
We do not. And it's funny you say that because I think there's actually more hamburger restaurants than there are chicken restaurants. But we digress.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just commenting on what I see on Facebook.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the challenges is always keeping up with infrastructure. You know, it would be great if we could build the infrastructure before the developments got here. But obviously that costs money.
Right.
And those costs are not cheap. So we have to get that tax base here kind of before we're able to begin those construction projects. As you mentioned, the traffic counts. Traffic is a huge obstacle because it's not just the traffic from the residents of Wylie that come here. It's
Pass through.
pass-through traffic, and obviously the farther north and east you go, they're really booming, and they drive through town, and which is great for us because they shop here.
Right. I mean, Levon's really growing up now.
Yeah, big time. And I think it'll just keep kind of going up towards Farmersville. And so obviously the road projects are the biggest challenge that we face. And we have roads under construction everywhere. And I understand 100% the frustrations that people have with road constructions. I have the same frustrations.
Right.
Of trying to get around here, but in the long run, it'll be much better once they all get completed.
Yeah, no, I mean, adding the double turn lanes there at Country Club was huge.
It
It was
is.
a little inconvenient for a while,
Yes.
but now that they're open, I mean, that cuts down on that long line coming in from Murphy to turn
Right.
left on Country Club that blocked up traffic. Yeah. So, everything ends up being a positive. It's just a little painful as we go through the
Yes.
construction part of it, right?
And in a year, people forget all about the pain that they went through to get through those construction projects, and they'll just think how great it is.
Yeah, so infrastructure is always a hot topic, right? And
Yes, sir.
roads and whatever. So, I hear rumblings about some plans for the traffic downtown heading out towards St. Paul.
So, yes, sir.
So, what are the plans? Is it? I mean, I've heard something's going to be a one-way street or whatever, and
So that's what we're looking at right now. So we're looking to convert North Ballard through downtown to one-way going north, and then Birmingham, which it's Ballard, Jackson, and Birmingham to the west. So
Yeah.
Birmingham will be one-way coming south.
Birmingham's the one that runs parallel with the railroad track.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay.
And the plan is to punch all that all the way up to Brown Street. So you'll come off of, if you're coming south, like from St. Paul, by the Catholic Church there, if you're going to continue to want to go south, you'll turn right on Brown and then come south on Birmingham. and there will be a signal light. We're going to install a signal light at Birmingham and 78, and then going north will just be a one-way through downtown. We're going to try that. The beauty with a lot of this stuff is a project like that. If it doesn't work,
Put it back.
we can put it back.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we're constructing something. A lot of that. I mean, we are constructing the piece of Birmingham, but that's not a waste.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to have that all the way through. But
Sure.
the rest of it's just road striping.
Right.
So, to be able to try it, if it doesn't work, hey,
and then all that funnels out to where you're widening it, widening the road going out of town.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Hey,
So
try it.
Try it and see.
Try it, see what happens.
If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, hey, we'll go back.
So I read that the city manages nearly $400 million in assets. Is that correct?
It is.
All right.
We got a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of assets.
Yeah.
So, and that's all that's buildings and everything that we have. So
Sure.
equipment.
And with capital, and then we have a capital improvement budget of nearly $20 million. Is that correct?
Right. And that's mainly road projects.
Okay. And so that's what my next question was, some of the major projects that are coming out of that.
Yeah, obviously infrastructure is a huge piece of that, and road projects. Part of it is for the downtown, Park Road or Park Boulevard over off of between Country Club and Parker. That's going to be widened to 4 lanes. Obviously, the hot topics, McMillan Road, that everybody loves to talk about.
Yeah.
That's in the process, and then East FM 544 is getting widened right now.
Yeah, so McMillan, for everybody, that's the S curve, right?
That's the S curve.
Yeah. And so somebody's been throwing up drone pictures of the progress, which I guess a lot of the rain has slowed that down.
Well,
that's in a low area.
It is, and there's been some challenges over there. We've you have to get permitting from the U.S. Corps of Engineers and any federally protected waterways, and we've had a little misstep there. The individuals responsible for getting those permits did not get the proper permits, so that's been part of the process. But in that process, and whether the road would have been under construction or not, the process is the same. We have to do an archaeological study, and that was part of the process. They found some artifacts. I don't remember, a piece of charred wood, a piece of they don't call it flint. It was something else that they used to sharpen arrowheads, and so they wanted some more digging to take place, and so we've done all of that. We're in the process of completing that. They've actually, so the challenge was it just didn't impact the S curve. It impacted that whole project. So they shut us down. They've released from Country Club to the S curve so we can begin construction. Frontier's supposed to be boring and putting in some fiber line because we couldn't do any work that would disturb the ground.
Right.
So we did have some overhead work that was able to be completed. But now that east end's done, Frontier can bore their lines. And then we're at the tail end. Hopefully within the next 20 to 30 days, we'll be done.
Right.
And then the construction crews are expected to get back out there in March. So we have had a little bit of a hiccup. Don't believe everything you read on Facebook. It's not always true.
You hear that?
And if I'm always open and willing to talk to anybody, they can call City Hall and I'll give you an answer. You may not like the answer,
Sure.
but I'm going to be honest with you and give you the answer that we have. And at the end of the day, we are where we are, and we've learned from our missteps, and ready to move down the
So
road.
are some of those challenges or the permitting and the archaeologicals, is that for every road project, or was it specific just because of something about where that was located?
It's specific because of the Muddy Creek, the way that flows through there. It's specific to federally protected wetland areas. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this. And obviously, I don't know how many people didn't even live here when Country Club was widened. We had the same issue on Country Club.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where that crosses the creek. We had that project got stopped, and we have for an extended period of time. The difference is the old Country Club was open, so the road wasn't shut down.
Right.
So the impact wasn't as great. And, again, I understand the frustrations of having the road shut down and having to go around and all of that, but
it's growing pains, right?
It
I
really
mean, it feels like, I mean, tell me how you think about this. It feels like right now we have more road projects going on at one time than we ever have.
Oh, definitely. We definitely do. And part of that is out of our control.
Sure.
You mentioned the intersection at Country Club and 544. That intersection and then the intersection in McCreary and 544 were under construction, and both those intersections are TxDOT. So they have a different timeline than we do.
Sure.
They pay for all of that, so we kind of have to take that when we can get it. Parker Road expansion, that's another TxDOT project that we don't have any control over. So, and that project is actually, they had to rebid that project, and it's a couple of years behind. So, we are trying to manage that a little bit better.
It just feels like, I guess you got TxDOT, and then you got some, you got the county out here on the east side,
Yeah,
right,
sure.
that you got to deal with.
Yeah, sure.
And then it just feels like everybody just decided to do everything at the same time.
They
County, the state,
and us, yes.
Yeah.
And that is, it's funny because Park Boulevard there, that's the next road for us to widen, and we've made the decision to say, all right, we're not going to do that until Country Club gets a lot farther along, and Parker Road gets a lot farther along, and because we have heard what residents are saying, and the balancing act though becomes the cost escalations.
Sure.
And
the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be.
And so when the bond election's passed, that's the money we have to spend on those projects. And the last thing we want to do is tell the city council, well, we know you passed that bond election, but now the cost is X, and we don't have enough money to do that project.
Right.
So, and we don't want to have to go back to the voters to say, hey, sorry, and so we want to respect all of that and try to be good stewards.
Oh, for sure. I was actually on the Citizens Advisory Bond Committee.
Yes, sir.
Back whenever we were reviewing all those projects. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. For sure. Man. So, we'll get off of that. Well, let's get off of that.
Hey, I'm used to it. If you got another question,
no,
go
I
ahead.
was just trying to see if you do I was trying to count in my head how many road projects we've got going on right now. Do you know that number?
Well, if you keep, because they're not 100% complete with the intersection down here, so you keep those. Are you talking about like physical under construction road projects? So really, it's only it's relative, right? It's only 3, but they're all the major ones,
right?
And that's the problem, because McMillan's a major thoroughfare. Obviously, Parker Road is, and then East FM 544, and they have the greatest impact, and that's the frustration that people express is, and we get it. It is a huge undertaking and huge frustration on people's parts.
Yeah, for sure. But you look, it's just going to be for a limited amount of time, and then everybody's going to forget about it and enjoy the new roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly
And,
right.
and if, it feels Wylie's, as far as homes and stuff, is getting pretty close to being completely built out.
We are.
So the growth is probably going to come from, multifamily or
redevelopment
or pass through, right?
Yep.
So that's where most of the traffic's going to come from in the future. So hopefully, this is going to be the biggest pain point that we see in the foreseeable future. Anyway,
that's my goal anyway.
That's what I'm hoping for
that's
as well.
my goal.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as well. So, we talked about attracting new businesses. So what are some of the initiatives that the city takes to attract those new businesses and really support the existing ones as well?
So really, we'll start with the attracting new businesses. There's several conferences that we attend that are tailored towards new development or I guess that have all the major players there from the end user to developers to real estate brokers. So we attend those on an annual basis, and it does take, people think, or people may think, that it doesn't take a very long time to attract businesses, and it really does, because it's kind of proving that Wylie has what it has to make a business successful. And so we have to make those connections and build those relationships and kind of prove that a business would be successful, because at the end of the day, we want businesses to be successful.
Right.
We from a city standpoint, not only are you bringing in property tax, but also sales tax, and at the end of the day, that helps reduce the tax burden on the homeowners, on the residents,
for sure.
And so we don't want to attract name a business. It doesn't matter to me. Academy, if that business isn't going to be successful, because then we'd have an empty building here.
For sure.
And they're not buying, residents don't have a place to go shop. We're not having sales tax. We don't have property tax. So we really are trying to develop those relationships so that we can bring in the right businesses. So that's on the new side. That's kind of how we do. There's through the Economic Development Corporation, and that's a whole separate topic that you could probably have a podcast on if you haven't already. But
it's on the list.
That is a tool that we have in our toolbox that they can provide certain incentives legally through state law that can attract businesses, and the city also has that ability as well to provide. Our scope is very limited. We do what's called 380 agreements, which can rebate, sales tax or such, whatever the council decides to do on that. So we can do some of those incentives, but we also want to kind of protect that, because, if we're giving all the money back to them, then, it doesn't really help the homeowners and the residents very much. So, and then from a retaining businesses, a lot of that really is us working with the EDC to try to either, as businesses expand, to try to either locate them other buildings or property that they could build new buildings on, or expansion projects on their current facilities. So, and, the EDC does a great job with that, and they try to do grants and different things to help businesses out.
And I think that we have a good mix of companies that are not only sell things to the public, like restaurants and stores and stuff like that, but we also build a lot of things here.
We do.
Right? So people may not know that we have a really strong manufacturing core of businesses in Wylie. So I don't know the number off the top of my head. I've never researched it, but I mean, it's pretty significant compared to some of the surrounding cities.
Oh, very much so. You say that, and I'll kind of go back to the first question you ask about what it was like to grow up here, um, where Whataburger, Chick-fil-A, and that whole strip sits today, that used to be Carlisle Coating, extruders, man-made products. Well, the EDC along and the railroad tracks, they used to run parallel to Highway 78.
Yep.
So years ago, the foresight from the council and the city management at that time were able to work with the railroad to get the tracks moved, and then the EDC was able to work with those businesses to relocate them off of Hensley Lane,
Right.
and Sandon.
Probably
and,
bigger and better facilities too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those businesses have been around for decades.
Right.
So it's and a lot of people, that are new here, it's this, and they don't know what was there before.
Right.
And so we were really able to clean up that area to redevelop
To more retail,
restaurants, and
stuff,
and really create a industrial park in Wylie that those things are located in.
That's awesome, and they're good employers too.
Absolutely.
For jobs. And,
Absolutely.
People stay local and work
Yeah.
and.
Yeah, because otherwise those companies would have moved out of our city and to another city and taken their employees
Their employees and their
yeah,
tax
so,
base and everything else with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it works out.
It does. So let's kind of like talk about community engagement for a minute. Wylie is known for its strong sense of community.
Right.
Has been for as long. I mean, I've lived here 25 years, and that's one of the things that really attracted me to Wylie in 2000 when I moved here, was the sense of community. How does you and your team ensure residents stay engaged and informed about city decisions?
Well,
Do we want to talk about the Facebook Live?
sure. I think there's multiple opportunities there, and we hold, it's anything from events that we hold downtown where our council members and our city staff attend and interact with the residents. We have everything from the Taste of Wylie to Bluegrass on Ballard to the pedal car race, and those are huge events that draw a lot of residents, and we're able to engage those folks. And then, as you mentioned, the mayor and I do Facebook Live every Friday after the council meeting on that Tuesday, and we take questions and answer those, the best we can. If we can't, we really encourage people to reach out to us, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm a transparent guy. I don't have anything to hide. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm going to tell you, you may not agree or you may not like the answer, but I'm just going to be honest with you, and so we try to engage that way as well, and then obviously we have a variety of boards and commissions that people can serve on. You mentioned the bond committee that you served on, and there are some committees like that happen from time to time that are I guess not as there's not a term that you serve. It's a shorter period of time, and once that project's over, then the committee kind of dissolves. But then there are some like planning and zoning or board of adjustments or the library board or the animal shelter board that we're always looking for people to volunteer, and that also helps us know from a resident's perspective what's important.
Right.
Because we don't know. I mean, we live here.
It's a good feedback loop.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we really do want people's feedback. And because we can do what we feel is best based on the institutional knowledge and things of our field and what we think people want. But without hearing from them, we don't really know what people are really. I mean, other than chicken restaurants and nail salons, we don't really know what people want or don't want. You
Right,
know?
exactly. And I think a lot of people don't know that there's all these resident committees that are all these committees that are filled by residents
I would agree with
that
that.
they could participate on. So where can people or our listeners go that are hearing this go and find out about these different committees? Are this posted on the city's website?
It is. They can go to wiletexas.gov, and there's a link on there that will take them to, and the application is very simple, very short for boards and commissions, and those are typically appointed in June. The new appointments, and some are more involved. Planning and zoning, they meet twice a month, and you hear all the new developments that are wanting to come into town, and so that's a very heavily involved board.
Yeah.
But then there are some that they don't meet as often, that aren't as, I guess, labor intensive, if you will. So I feel there's a variety for everybody to, find something they're interested in and really allow their voice to be heard.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we'll post that link.
Perfect.
DJ will post it in the comments.
Perfect.
Or in the description. So if you could achieve one major milestone for Wylie in the next 5 years, what would it be?
Well, man, there's, I think for me, and we hit on it earlier, I think it'd really be downtown.
Yeah.
We city staff, city councils over the years have really talked about kind of not redeveloping, but just redoing downtown with the streets, the drainage, the one-way, really enhancing that. We have such a vibrant downtown.
We do.
And, I think that for me to see that we're gaining momentum now. And I think for me, if I could see that get kicked off, and I don't know that I'll be here to see it completed, but
hey, I don't know. I mean, it's gained momentum in the past few years.
It really has.
And, I think that we may see it sooner than we think.
And I hope we do. And because we do with all of our events that we do downtown, and I really think that's probably what has kept our small hometown feel is, the downtown area. And and we have such, and over the last couple of years, I would say that the downtown has kind of expanded out a couple of blocks because, we've gotten Glen Echo Brewing over on Birmingham. We've gotten Linky's Barbecue. There's several things that have kind of moved over a couple of blocks
Off of Ballard.
Yeah. And it's really exciting to see that develop. And I know we've got a couple of areas that the EDC have now that we're looking to try to get redeveloped. And I think the opportunity's there, and I think the opportunity's right. And that's probably the biggest thing I'd like to see.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way from back when we had the old community pool downtown, right?
Yeah, there used to be a water tower down there, and the old fire station was right there at Old City Park, and so we've come a long way.
I love seeing old photos and stuff of the stuff and how things have changed.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah. So I bet a lot of people don't know there was a swimming pool downtown.
Probably not.
So as we're getting to the end of the podcast, kind of like this a little fun and personal question
Yes,
for
sir.
you. What's your favorite thing about Wylie? Don't think about it too hard.
Probably just the people.
I'd have to agree.
I mean, really, growing up here, it's my hometown, and it's, to me, it's always been a great honor to be able to serve my hometown through everything, all the way up to being the city manager now. And really, I don't, even after I retire from city management, from the city, I probably just stay here because the people are friendly. you're able to develop relationships with people. And we continue to have the small town events, and I just like that. I like that environment and that vibe that we have, and I think it is probably just the people.
That's awesome. All right, now I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but do you have a favorite local restaurant or spot that you like to visit in town?
Oh man,
there's so many good ones.
There are, and I
like if you were going to go eat tonight, where are you going?
I'd probably go to Creekside.
That's a good place.
It has a broad menu, and I hadn't had anything bad on the menu, so that's probably, if I was going to take my wife for Valentine's dinner, that's probably where I'd take her.
That's a good spot for sure.
So.
All right, last question. If you weren't in city management, what career do you think you'd be doing instead?
Man, that's a tough one, because I love the fire service.
Yeah,
and I've accomplished so many goals of like the four you said. I've been a firefighter. I owned a landscaping business when I was in the fire service, and if people are on Facebook, they see that I recently bought pool feed supply, and so I've accomplished 3 out of the 4. So I probably, now I guess now I'm doing when I retire, I'll be doing the 3rd one, which is running the feed store. My son is running that for me now, since I'm not retired.
Yeah.
But I would probably figure out something to just serve, because that's really what I enjoy doing, is just serving people.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool, and then, when you say get done with being a city manager and retire and whatnot, being able to have a business where you can work with your kids.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And spend time with them and do that kind of stuff. So
my daughter just started up there not too long, earlier this week. So now I don't know if having my son and my daughter up there is a good thing, but we'll figure that out as we go. But it really, like you said, that's to have that relationship with my kids is great. And, I mean, you didn't ask me this question, but I worked for Pool Feed back when I was in high school, when they were in the old tire shop. And to be able to have the opportunity to purchase that and keep a local business, small business,
historic small business,
alive.
Yeah, it's been around a long time. Again,
that's cool to me, and I'm kind of came full circle with working there to owning it, and that's just
amazing.
part of Wylie,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Oh, great. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Wylie podcast. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you're following along. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love to have you subscribe there. As always, visit livelovewylie.com. We'll see you next time.